And now, here's the host of the Recovery Alley, Jeff Neenstead.
There I am. Okay, how's everybody doing? It's Marcelo. I'm the producer of the Recovery Alley show. We've got a great show for you tonight with Brian Walters himself as the guest, and of course, yours truly, American Towman of the Year, Jeff Neenstead. So I'm going to bring him in right now. Boom, there he is.
Ooh, man, what do you think about that heat today?
Oh, it was brutal.
Man, just it's like I've been telling my guys, for all these operators out there, and hydrate.
Yep.
It's tough. Stay away from the energy drinks. Stay away from the sugar. Eat light. Hydrate. We're coming into summer in Texas, and it's going to be brutal.
Oh, it's going to be real. I mean, it was real bad out there in the heat. I was out there for about a minute before I had to come back into the cool office. I got a paper cut today. It was it was a trifling day for myself.
Yeah. I was soaking wet. We loaded a 2-burn tractor trailer, the dry vans. It sucked. But Marcelo, my producer, and his lovely fiance Stacy. There she is, right there. There's some congratulations in order. I have the privilege of marrying them on Saturday. So just everybody give us some good vibes and stuff on Saturday. And come Saturday evening, there will be a Mr. and Mrs. Perez.
That's right. So
real quick, this is brought to you from Southwest Tow Operators. Just wanted to. There's some certification testing, some continuing education coming on May 11th, then 25th. We got certification testing at Banis Towing in San Antonio. At the Southwest Tow Operators office, they've got certification testing on the 14th and 15th. Continuing education at Banis Towing in San Antonio on the 18th.
Yeah.
So just check out the new website, go to the calendar, and check it out. So we have a really good guest tonight. Brian Walters, he's with the Walters firm in Austin, Texas. He's a graduate from the South Texas College of Law, and of course, he's an overachiever. Graduated with honors in 2006. He's been doing this towing gig for over 10 years. He primarily works on heavy duty towing and recovery payment disputes. He's been like a bar gold to the association. He's helped us write bills. He's at the Capitol with us. He is the Texas towing lawyer. So we'll kick you out and let's go on and bring Brian in.
All right. Y'all take care. Be safe out there.
Hey, Brian, how you doing this evening?
I'm good, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
So you're a busy man. We've been trying to get this worked out for a while. Got to spend a little time in Vegas at the show there. Pretty cool deal. So what we're going to talk about today is the best practice when it comes to heavy duty towing and recovery. Things that you should be doing so you got everything you need. It's a tough game out there right now, and if you don't have everything documented correctly, you can run into a brick wall. So, Brian, what are the most common reasons you see a denial for payment on a recovery bill from the insured?
Sure. So the most common reasons, it comes down to one of three things. It's either lack of information, lack of coverage, or it's going to be lack of knowledge. when it comes to lack of information, it's going to be documenting the recovery work. It's going to be identifying the services and the labor that was performed, the equipment that was used in a way that tells that story to the insurance adjuster or whoever's paying the bill on this, on the recovery. They need to be able to understand these bills. You all work in incredibly stressful conditions. You work in dangerous conditions. I know that, for me, it's easy to sit down and bill time. I'm sitting in an office, right? I don't have vehicles whipping by me on the side of the road. I can sit there and pretty accurately take my time identifying the things I'm doing. That is not a luxury most towers I work with have. They're trying to get the road cleared. They're trying to keep their people safe. They're trying to get commerce moving again. And they usually have to document all the work they did after the fact. So they're sitting there and trying to get the job done first, and then afterwards document what they did. So getting that information over to them, to the folks who are looking over the invoices and paying the bills, is probably the most popular reason these things get denied.
So what I've learned, I've been lucky enough to go to a few seminars at tow shows. I won't say who put them on, but I've learned a lot. We get out on scene. Some of the first things we're doing is taking pictures, so we can document the scene. Start taking pictures of DOT numbers, VIN numbers on doors. Get the manifest. The cargo is going to be a problem. Get your manifest. And it's like you said, we got a lot of stuff going on. I take notes through the whole deal. We do narratives on all our heavy duty accidents. We refer back to our GPS for time, so we know we're spot on. Sometimes they want that GPS information.
Mm-hmm.
If you end up in suit, it could be 6-8 months before anything happens,
or longer.
So you probably want to find a way to capture that GPS information so you have it.
Well, I want to touch on what you just said about photographs. I mean, you've heard my seminars. It's photographs, photographs, photographs. The more photographs you have, the more you're going to be able to tell that story effectively. You could write down the narrative. Again, specialized work. Most people don't know what you all do. Most people think the counties and the cities in the state are paying for the people to be out there doing the recovery who aren't familiar with this industry. So when you can present photographs and show, here's what we did. Here's the scene that we came up to. This is what it looked like when we approached it. These are the factors that were involved in the recovery work. This is the debris field of the spill, capturing all of that, taking photographs from every side of the vehicle, capturing that DOT information on the side of the vehicle, capturing the motor carrier number, getting copies of all the documents you can get a hold of, whether it's bills of lading, cargo manifests, whatever it is. That is information about the people who are involved in that wreck already. You need to know who those people are, because each one of those people will have a role to play in that recovery and sorting out the mess that you all are cleaning up.
Hey, looky here. We got SCG Towing Transportation out of California. They were at the Vegas Tow Show last week. All over the Recovery Alley Facebook page. I appreciate y'all being here tonight. So it's like with us, there's probably no less than 100 pictures that we get. So on the claims that are denied for lack of information, what are people usually missing?
Well, a lot of times it's a lack of description of the work that was done. I always joke at my presentations that if I send you all a bill and it says $12,000 and next to it says lawyer stuff for the description, nobody's going to want to pay that bill. That's the exact same thing you see when a recovery invoice goes over and it has a big number on one line and not a lot of description. So again, the narrative you're doing, Jeff, those are great because they explain what was done. And most third-party administrators, most insurers, they want to know what was done. They want to understand why this work was necessary. They want to understand that the work was not overdone, that it was reasonable. And that is, I mean, again, that's just the biggest barrier to getting the bills paid, is just getting the information out there. I've seen folks try to hold things back. I've seen them try to say, well, I don't want to send them all the photos. Why not? I mean, they're all going to come out. If this thing proceeds into litigation, everything about this is going to come out. It's an open book. So share the information up front. Let them see what you did. The work was done. The job, sending it over to them to get it paid is the next step.
Right. And then nobody's going to tell a story better than you being out on scene. So big shout out to Tow Pro Record out of Waxahachie. And we got Tim Ward. Tim Ward's always watching. He's one of our Esteel board members. So I don't know how many times I've heard this. You get done with the recovery, middle of the night or whatever. Get all your documentation, get all your ducks in a row, call the insurance company, try to confirm coverage. If I'll be damned. I don't know, probably 50 to 60% of the time, the first thing I hear, we got coverage issues. So what's the most common reason for insurance companies to deny for lack of coverage?
Well, as far as lack of coverage, I mean, you've got the typical responses are, well, we've got a listed driver policy or a listed vehicle policy, and either the vehicle or the driver wasn't listed. So it's a policy-based exclusion, right? The coverage does exist. It's just not for this particular person or that particular vehicle.
Now, I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I've heard something about presumptive coverage. It doesn't matter if they were on the insurance. Maybe they hired them. Somebody dropped the ball, forgot to report to insurance. Is that presumptive coverage a real thing?
Well, I've never heard the term put quite like that, but when we're talking about driver exclusions or vehicle exclusions, there are endorsements that are attached to these policies that do pick up and create surety obligations and things like that for the situations where a driver is excluded or a vehicle is excluded. I think that's a little too deep to dive in on this one, but I could talk on that one for a whole other episode.
Yeah. It's like I said, documentation is huge. Like you said, a lot of these people don't understand what we do. So it's up to us to tell the story. You mentioned lack of knowledge as a common reason for denying claim. That's what we're talking about right now. Will you explain it a little bit more?
Sure. So being in the industry y'all are in with the specialized work you do, most adjusters, most attorneys I deal with do not understand, again, the work you're performing. They don't understand how to process the claims through the insurance policy. They believe everything is just quote unquote towing, right? But when y'all are out there working with a skid steer or a front end loader or roll off boxes, you're not towing anything. You're doing recovery work. And that is the hardest thing to get people to understand, is the big difference between hauling from one point A to point B, being the towing, and all of the work it takes to get these massive vehicles into a position where they can be hooked up and taken to the vehicle storage facility. That is where the majority of the work tends to lie when I see it in the work I review. So explaining that to them, helping them understand the difference between towing and recovery, helping them see, because when they look at it and they see a policy that says we have X amount of towing limits, and they see a towing company, I mean, that's pretty easy to draw that connection for them. They say, well, this is towing work was performed by a towing company.
Yeah.
You really
I want to give another shout out. We got Bill with Martin Towing out of Waxahachie. We got Eric Lawrence with Lawrence Towing here in Texas. I appreciate y'all being with us this evening. Now, I was talking to somebody, actually I was on a call. Too bad you weren't on the call with us. But I was talking to a guy that does some stuff like you do. Actually used to work for the insurance companies coming after the towing companies. And he said a lot of the time when they talk about this $5,000 cap, they're just throwing that out there to try to slow you down or something, I guess. But I mean, have you ever seen that happen where somebody saying we've got a $5,000 cap on something and they were lying about it?
So whenever we get copies of the policies when we're in litigation. So if there's someone's making a misrepresentation about the policy, we're going to find out. And that's actually a pretty darn serious claim that can be brought against anyone engaged in the business of insurance, is misrepresenting policy coverage. So I have not personally seen someone misrepresent policy limits, but I have seen, again, going back to the previous question, where there are limits within the overall limit. Like you see $1 million policy, right? You think, well, it's got $1 million on it. No, that policy is very thick for a reason. It has very specific coverages, pollutant escape coverage, again, the towing. If you read through it and look at all the different endorsements that are attached to these things, you can see how very specific issues are limited in that policy. And that's a lot of times what people will cite to. So that does create a lot of confusion when you say, well, you've got a $750,000 policy, $500,000 policy, and you're telling me there's only this much coverage. They may be being completely honest with you. That's the coverage they have available under the policy terms.
Yeah, boy, I tell you what, our North Texas boys are coming in big. We got big Zach Brown from All American Towing and Recovery. Great guy. He was at the training class back in December at Baird's Towing. Another Classic Towing out in Hillsboro. We got Brandon here. A lot of North Texas boys. I appreciate y'all being here this evening. So, we've touched on it a little bit, but what could we do as the men out there performing the work that's going to help us get paid?
I think it comes down to building your files internally, building your processes, and training your people. I mean, when I was getting ready for the show, I came up with 3 words: people, processes, and precision. Right? It's nice, it's catchy, it's easy to remember. People is training your employees, training your staff to understand that they need to document these things. They need to give a lot of detail. They need to be able to, again, tell that story. Keep it in a chronological format, just like a story. Have them trained on how to deal with insurance adjusters to make sure they know what type of insurance they're dealing with, whether it's physical damage, collision, property damage, cargo, and the coverages that are afforded under that might get paid. When it comes down to processes, again, your software. I can't say enough about having invoices that are clear and easy to understand and read, and that really do a good job of identifying not only the service provided, but the amount of time that went into it. If you're billing by the hour, your hours should be very accurate, just like mine are. I bill by 1/10 of an hour. I got trained to do that at Brown McCarroll when I was over there. That's just the way we did it. I'm not saying y'all should do that, but that's the way courts are used to seeing time billed. They see a period of time and they see a good description as to what it was. If your software doesn't allow you to put in descriptions like that, ask them to modify it. Most software in this industry seems like they're pretty responsive to the needs of their clients. So, and then precision, this is the clincher. You have to be 100% accurate on all your billing. Your hours should be accurate. You should understand that when a dispute happens, they're going to probably go get cruiser cams and body cams from the officers who are out there, and they're going to look at the timestamps on there, and they're going to see what time your vehicles arrived, what time your people got there. And if you have 8 people there, and they were all there for exactly 8 hours, that looks weird. Unless they all came in the same van and left in the same van. You need to track that time. You need to be accurate about it. And you need to know that when there's discrepancies there, that's what folks are looking for. They're trying to poke holes in your invoices. Make them rock solid.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, look who we got here. 956 Towing. David Escalera's in the house. We got Matt
David
with Temple Towing that's coming in. Man, Quinn, good to see you here, Quinn. And so it's like you're saying, my guys, we've been working together for a long time, and I know there's a lot of people out here have that same thing with their crew. And it's like I said, we have no less than 100 pictures on a heavy duty scene. Everybody's taking pictures. A lot of the people here are using tow books or some other type of platform. And as long as those guys are attached to that call, they can go on and upload the pictures right then. And several years back, we get done with the recovery. There's probably some that I had to have somebody help me with, where we just got into it and got going. And we get done and everybody says, hey, you got any pictures? I didn't get no pictures. So, I mean, talk about this before you get to that spot. Make sure who cares if people are taking the same pictures, but just get all those pictures. And it's like you were saying, a lot of people don't think about an insurance company going to dash cams, body cams. Personally, I want to represent my industry correctly. I'm going to make my money, but I'm going to make it honestly. Sometimes I get done with the job and I'm like, man, we need to charge more on that one. But you start looking at your hours, you look at who you have on scene, and it adds up. And I'm not going to stretch a bill. I'm not going to pad a bill. You get that image out there, that reputation. We're dealing with a lot of the same adjusters. I mean, a lot of them use independent adjusters or the guys right there in your area. You start fumbling with those guys a couple of times, they're going to dig real hard. I like the guys that come to my place and they're like, I really like coming here. It's just line items. It's I see you went up a little bit. It's about time. So, what about the process? What does that mean?
Well, I want to jump back real quick and just mention something you said about the software and tow books, if you don't mind. Having those systems set up, and this again gets back to process, having those systems set up where your photographs are all going into one cloud system. I cannot say how important that is. When we have to run around and get photos off everyone's phone, we have to authenticate those photos. We have to put them all together. If they are being taken on the fly with timestamps and preferably GPS stamps on them and being uploaded to a system, you've got a great situation because all you've got to do is send a link and download all. It makes it very easy for submitting that information to the insurers. And y'all have already done the work. You don't need to spend a bunch more time putting together all these files so that you can submit them in the same manner that I'm going to have to submit them if we're in court to the insurer. Take as many steps as you can to make that easy on your staff and on yourselves. This is the part where you're supposed to just be putting the information together and getting paid. Paperwork's supposed to be my job.
Quinn just had a comment. He said, "He with the most notes wins." And it's important. I try to get my guys. Some of them use their phone, a Samsung Note or something like that. But a lot of times you'll see some of my guys with just we call it a snitch pad in their pocket, and just a piece of equipment comes on scene. They might take a picture of that piece of equipment to memorialize it. Mm-hmm. But you've got to be on top of this stuff, because if you don't have it, you're going to get screwed. You're going to get screwed bad. I mean, people are coming at the industry from all different directions right now. And it's like I said, we can get out there and make our money, and we can do it honestly, and we can do it professionally. So the last time you mentioned precision, can you tell me what you meant about that?
Yeah, that again was just going back to the idea of being 100% accurate in your time. If you've got, in Texas, we've got fee schedules, right? So you've got all the billing you need and all the information you need to do your billing right there. And people will ask for those, and they're entitled to those. So making sure that all of your rates are up to date, making sure that if it's hourly, you're tracking your hours very accurately. These are all the things where it's just little Mickey Mouse things that if people see discrepancies there, they start thinking, okay, well, is this bill on the up and up, or do we need to dig deeper? And, if I'm going to put someone up on the stand to testify about their bill, it's going to be on the up and up, because there's going to be somebody else on the other side who's looking to tear it apart. And I'm not worried about putting my folks up there. I think we've got some folks with some experience in that. It is what it is. You get up there and you tell the story, you tell the truth. An old trial attorney I used to work with said, you can tell the truth 1,000 different ways. It's still the truth. So whenever you start making things up, you got to worry because you got to remember all the stuff you made up.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Like I said, we need all these recovery companies out there to be representing our industry and representing them properly. We're professionals, and we're expected to act like professionals. At least I expect everybody to. But I tell you what, real quick, we're gonna take a short break for a word from Guardian Payment Services. Great partners with Southwest Tow Operators. So let's hear a little couple words from Brendan.
Good afternoon. This is Brandon and Patrick with the Guardian Payment Services. We offer e-invoicing and payment services for all software and networking across the United States within First Data. And we just want to thank tow operators for being members and allowing us to do the donations and take care of everything else here. You can also contact us at 254-244-0300 or at guardianpaymentservices.com.
So big shout out to Guardian. They've jumped back on for a sponsor. They're sponsoring our 2024 legislative conference at the Tow Show on the 22nd in Fort Worth. Hey, Barbara, it's good to see you this evening. You're going to be doing some stuff in Fort Worth, aren't you?
Oh yeah, doing 2 presentations in Fort Worth. We're going to talk about the Service Members Civil Relief Act and try to find some solutions there for storage facilities that may be storing service members' properties or vehicles. And we're going to be talking about corporate structuring, so towing company, VSF, structuring and isolating lines of business. I don't know why nobody gets as excited about the corporate structuring one as I do. And I know I saw some eyelids drooping in Vegas when I gave that presentation, but it's a very important topic. I mean, as your company grows, it's just something you need to be aware of.
You start buying, $1 million pieces of equipment and stuff. You need to start protecting yourself.
Yes.
And you're probably right, Brian. You got a lawyer here, you got tow truck operator here. But I mean, it's very important to hear what you have to say about this. It could save somebody's company. But you doing anything on recovery billing or anything?
Aside from hanging out and talk to folks who come up to the booth and hang out at Southwest Tow Operators booth, probably not. This time I gave that presentation so many times I didn't want to keep giving the same one over and over. So if anyone wants
to tell you what,
I'm there.
The first time I saw your seminar, I just sat there and I took pictures of the slides as you put them up. And it really changed the way I started to operate. There were some things I didn't necessarily do on a heavy duty scene, and it changed everything. And it's actually working. A lot of times we'll be talking to an insurance adjuster or something, and they're trying to chip away at this bill because automatically we're in negotiations with these people. I don't know how many. Do you negotiate your rates as an attorney?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think that you could say that. I do a lot of pro bono work for Southwest Tow Operators.
but with your clients, I don't know why that's the start of the conversation. Why are you charging this? Why are you charging that? I'll get these guys and I'll tell them, did you read the narrative? No. I said, I'll tell you what, why don't you read that narrative? Call me back. And I get a phone call back. Might not be that day, might be the next day. But their normal response is, can you get me a W-9?
And there you go. Those are the magic words you're looking for, right? That's when you have major bills stand up. And, everybody's going to come in and want to try to talk about a bill. right? If I send out a big bill as an attorney, my client will call me and want to talk about it. They're going to want to know why I did all that work. Y'all are running equipment that costs more than a couple of attorneys at a time per hour. So people are going to want to have questions for y'all too. And that again is just going back to precision, documenting your work, taking all those photographs. And like you said in the presentation, take photographs.
I mean, essentially that's what you're going to end up doing, is giving a presentation. And it depends on how good your presentation is as to how hard you're going to fight to get paid. It's like I said, and I'm just going to be honest. Yours is the only seminar I've been to. So I anybody here, whether you're at the Florida show, Tennessee show, if somebody's got a seminar on billing, go on and do yourself a favor and just go sit down for a few hours, take you a notepad, take you a little digital recorder, something, because you are going to walk away with some of the most valuable information. So like I said, it really changed my recovery billing game after I saw after I went to your seminar. And it's, it took an attorney to open my eyes. It's such simple stuff that I personally, I think I should have probably figured it out of myself. But we pull up on scene and we want to go to work, clear the road, so, but you mentioned Southwest Tow Operators. Brian has done great things for Southwest Tow Operators. We are really lucky to have him. He's like a Rain Man, and to sit and talk with you, not only does it make me feel a little ignorant, but I did pick out some stuff in that training we were watching. So, but Southwest Tow Operators can't thank you enough for what you do. You do some great work for us.
Well,
I mean,
I just want to speak to that real quick, Jeff, because I never thought I'd be someone hanging out at the Capitol and writing legislation and having those bills go and become law. When I started practicing, I was a corporate attorney. I was doing M&A work. I was forming companies, nonprofits, things like that. When I got into this industry and started working with Tommy and Joanne and you got involved and everyone over there, it was a great experience for me. I'm very proud to be down there with y'all. I think that we've done some incredibly important work, and I'm very proud of it. I think we still got a lot of work to do, but there's always next session, right?
Yeah, there's always next. We got one coming up. S&G Towing. Just not going to get more information on Brian. Well, they're getting information right now, or get in with some of the seminars. I know they're out of California. So, I mean, I don't know if you travel to Texas, to the Texas show or not, but there are some online courses. I unfortunately I can't point you to them. I've heard about them. But at any of these tow shows, somebody's going to be giving us a seminar on billing, whether it's Ron Myers, whether it's you. There's a lot of good people out there. And just check those tow show schedules on the seminars and stuff, and get lined out for it. Let's see here. Tim Ward, he's praising you, Brian. I can testify. He's talking in lawyer terms. I can testify that Brian knows the laws. We talked about associations. I know you can help us, but can an association help you at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of the most important relationships you can build. the association's having contacts with local attorneys who I'm always happy to reach out and talk to attorneys in other states. I practice in Texas. I'm not licensed. I think we got a question. Are you able to practice in Florida? No, I'd love to, but it takes a lot of work to get into other states. I've never wanted to venture outside of Texas as far as getting.
Brian Walters is us. He's for us. He's ours.
And you need to also have knowledge of the specific state laws, right? Every set of laws on towing is a little bit different. In Texas, there's a combination of the occupations code and the transportation code. You get into other states, it's a whole different set of statutes. The regulatory structures are different in every state. Some states regulate and license, other states manage it county by county. So having a relationship with an association and having that association know a local attorney who understands this is probably the most valuable thing we could be working on building right now. Is just a network of attorneys. I'll give a shout out to the folks who were here doing this before I was. Mike McGovern, fantastic attorney up in Tennessee. Jonathan Bruce, my friend down in Houston. Those are folks who I know personally, who know this stuff, who are familiar with it, and who live and breathe it. And if you don't have someone like that in your state, well, if you want to help make someone like that in your state, I'm happy to talk to them. I'm sure the other attorneys I mentioned are happy to talk to them. We've got Jonathan Charnisky and David Walters at my office. They work directly with me and know this stuff extremely well. But we're always happy to coordinate with local counsel if there's something where we've got a knowledge set that will help y'all in your home states.
Yeah, I mean, you've jumped in on a lot of stuff. You're only in Texas, but it's been great to have you in some of the spaces that we've been in here lately. You know what? I just feel more comfortable when you're there. We get off a call and I can always say, hey, I can call you. And if there's something I didn't quite understand, you can definitely explain it. This recovery billing thing it's like I said, documentation. When do we get, man, I'll beat a dead horse, Brian. I'll do anything I can not to end up in court because I know what it's going to be. Let's hope the guy isn't, let's hope he doesn't live in Mexico where you got to wait for him to come back into the States to get him served. This stuff drags on for years and years. Mm-hmm. So I want to stay out of court as much as possible. And it 9 times out of 10, when we're going to court, it's not because they're taking us to court. We're just trying to get paid. So when do you get to that point? What's that point where you need to contact an attorney, file suit?
So ideally, I don't want the cases that are just simple and easy, right? That's why I give seminars. That's the reason we go out there and talk about this stuff, and I try to help get the information out there. If it's something where you all can get paid, I love that because that is just bringing folks up to speed on how to get these things processed with insurance, get the information out there, train their folks. That's great. When there is a real and legitimate dispute, because there are a lot of areas of law here, or a lot of issues in this area of law that are not quite resolved. Cases on heavy-duty towing are exceedingly rare in Texas as far as published case law. Cases on private property towing are a little more popular because we've got those wonderful tow hearings here in Texas that always end up going up and up and up. But there are some undecided issues where you've got folks who on the insurance end might not have a clear answer, where their attorneys, whether it's coverage counsel or the defense counsel, might not know exactly what the law is here. And sometimes you got to just litigate to figure it out, and that's fine. Other times it's where you've got so many different parties involved. You got tractor owner, the trailer owner, the folks involved with the cargo, motor carrier, and you've just got a lot of parties you need to sort out. Sometimes they're all pointing fingers at each other saying, well, this person's liable, but nobody's writing a check. And the entire time y'all have already done all this work. You're making payments on these incredibly expensive vehicles. You're paying your personnel. You've got insurance costs that are through the roof. Time is not the friend of the folks who haven't been paid. And so that I think is the biggest factor, is when you get to a point where you've hit a dead end They've issued a denial. You've asked for reconsideration. They've still denied it. The folks who are the vehicle owners aren't paying. Yeah, then maybe it's time to come sit down and talk to an attorney about it. And honestly, the sooner the better at that point, because while I know everybody wants to do this themselves, I know everybody in this industry is all about doing it themselves and just picking themselves up and running. There comes a point where you start hitting a time where people's memories fade, or your staff leaves, or the person who had those photos on their phone no longer works for you. And that's when you're starting to lose evidence in the case that you're going to need. So, work as hard as you can to do it, but don't wait too long.
What do you think of, personally, I think, when we're getting our trucks worked on and we're buying tires and we're buying fuel and we're buying insurance, all those people want to get paid right then. So we pay them so we can continue to do what we do. So what's a reasonable amount of time for an insurance company to pay? Because personally, I think it should be done within 15 days.
Oh, I think that'd be wonderful. I wish the wheels of claims processing turned that quickly. Because again, y'all do have real capital outlays that they're out there. And you're still doing other work. So you've got this kind of trailing system where you do a job and then you get paid for it later, right? Sometimes you might get paid right away, but I mean, Jeff, you tell me, are the majority of them we pay on the spot, or do they take a little time?
Well, I tell you what, most of them take a little time. I did have one a couple of weeks ago. They wanted me to salvage a load, and it was gonna be tough. It was gonna take a long time. And I said, this is going to be expensive. And, I've got a credit card.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I hope you do. And we were paid within 2 hours of finishing the job.
And that's great. And I never see those cases because those are the ones that will never come to my office. But, I think as far as getting the claim processed quickly, that again goes back to putting your narrative together, putting your evidence packet together, telling the story, and getting everything they need so that they can start doing the work on their end. Now, if they're not moving fast enough, that's a totally separate issue. If they're saying we need 30 more days to figure this out, again, that's up to y'all as far as how fast you want to move on helping them along.
I just, we talk with everything going on in the towing industry right now. We've heard people squawking about administrative fees, and myself and my operations manager, David, one of us has almost been in contact. There was several companies, because you know how it gets. You got cargo, you got this, the tractor, the trailer. And I thought about that administrative fee. When we're spending like literally hours on the phone.
Yeah. And again, if you're spending time on something and you have an accounting system for billing it, that's one thing. If it's just I think the concerns that I've seen have been when there is a flat fee associated with it. There was at least one case out of Massachusetts where the court found a flat administrative fee didn't have any rational relationship to the work that was performed. You're just tacking on time to an invoice. I think that if you, again, bill like a lawyer on this stuff, if you're tracking your time for your staff and you've got a reasonable rate for that staff member, that type of billing, I don't think someone would sit there and fight you too much on it because, again, it's tracking the time. It's being precise. I think that when flat fees come in, I think that's where red flags get raised.
I'm trying to, and Barbara, they ended up paying with a com check. So yeah, we watch out for those chargebacks. Because I'm really starting to think about administrative fees. I'm a little scared of them. So when we make a phone call and talk to an insurance company, we go on and we put it in the notes, the date, the time, and who we spoke to. And I know you were just talking about it, but how do we document that where we can put it in an administrative fee and not raise that red flag?
Well, I think one, just saying administrative fee is probably not the best approach, right? So you've got a company that has real costs. You've got personnel you're paying to perform these services, to do this work on an hourly or on a salary basis, right? Those are real costs that go into your company. You're either going to have to recover those costs through increasing other fees so that you can cover it, or through accounting for those fees. And, as an attorney, we're very used to having legal assistants, paralegals, attorneys, all billing for things just like that. But it's very different when you're a towing company, right? That doesn't look like the type of work that a towing company should be doing. And frankly, I think it'd be a better world if it wasn't the type of work they were doing, because if you put the stuff together and you submit it the right way, in a perfect world, the thing would just get paid. But there has to be some sort of accounting for it, because if you don't recover those expenses, well, if you got a company that's pushing out more money than it's taking in, we all know what's going to happen to it. It's going to go under. So, the delay in these processing times, the amount of work you'll have to do, it's going to be reflected one way or another. It's either going to be reflected in pricing for the work that you're doing, or it's going to have to be accounted for separately. One way or another, it has to get paid.
So if I'm hearing you right, if we separated the recovery from this admin stuff, is that the direction you were going?
No, I think that it's all kind of uncharted territory right now, ever since that case out of Massachusetts. When you're sitting there and saying, well, we're a towing company, a recovery company, a hazmat company, but we have all these other expenses. Even the regulatory authorities in Texas don't really account for that, right? If we put a bill on, or a fee schedule that TDLR was looking at, and they saw, insurance claim processing time, that doesn't look like towing. It doesn't look like recovery. It looks like office staff work. So I really don't have I can't really provide any guidance on that, because I haven't seen any, other than just tacking on a flat percentage rate has been shot down at least once. That much is very clear.
Right. I know that's what they were doing, is they were doing a percentage of the complete recovery, which, we're seeing nowadays, it's not uncommon to see $15,000-$20,000 recoveries. And, you put a flat percentage on that. It could be a big line item. That could definitely raise a red flag. That's probably, something for another discussion. I ran into something. I was just fixing to have to call my attorney on this one. But my operations guy was talking to the adjuster, and she asked about disposal. She goes, well, what did you dispose of? He said, well, we had some of the load, some of the trailer was in there, some of the tractor was in there. And because there were pieces of the tractor and the trailer in what we disposed of, they covered it. We didn't have to go to the cargo company. It's the weirdest thing. I've never seen it.
Okay. Sometimes they cover things that are odd.
It is out of Canada. I don't know if it's a different deal or what, but David's like, I'm gonna try that again sometime and see if it works.
Well, and I think one of the other things you're bringing up there is, I get a lot of disputes about who owns what part of which vehicle that was recovered, right? In a catastrophic wreck, I have never seen anybody out there with a checklist going, well, this looks like it belongs to the tractor. This looks like it belongs to the trailer. This looks like it belongs to the tractor. I've never been on a crash scene. I've just seen photos and videos, lots and lots of photos and videos. But I wouldn't want to be out there having to categorize every single thing y'all are picking up when it's a wreck of that size to figure out, is this part of a Freightliner? Is this part of the utility trailer? Is that part of the reefer unit? It just doesn't make sense. And in Texas, we've got a pretty good authority that we don't have to sit there and itemize each of those issues.
Right. I remember it. You don't see it often anymore, but people used to complain about them showing up on scene. But I used to like the day that the insurance company sent somebody right out to the scene and he's out there taking pictures and stuff. And I don't see it as much anymore. And I honestly think it's so they have a better chance to try to tear us apart. Because when they send their guy out there, they're memorializing it themselves. You know, I think in the last few years it's only happened twice. But I mean, I'll stop traffic for them so they can get whatever picture they want. So I'd like to see some more of that. We got our friend Jonathan Cleaver here. He's lying about us. He says we're both gentlemen and scholars.
He knows better than that.
Jonathan's he's a really good guy. I talked to him today. I think we both talked to him today. Yep. We got Jess Horton. He's one of the OGs. He's a STOOG. Good to see you here, Jess. And like I said, we're gonna get ready to start wrapping this thing up. But you need to listen to what Brian said tonight. Documentation is huge. I don't think there's too many people that are still doing paper tickets out there. If you are, start looking around for some type of dispatch platform. Everything's like Brian said, everything's cloud-based. It's time stamped. It's location stamped. There's no way to dispute any of the photographs. So get your plan down. Talk to your guys when you get on scene. Make sure you're looking for the manifest. You're looking, if you're lucky, inside that truck is a little binder that's got all the information in it. Take the time to try to find that. Especially knowing what your load is, how you're going to have to handle it. The more documentation you have, the easier it's going to be on you. You're not going to have to be talking to somebody like Brian. And we can keep them to ourselves then. And again, we got the Texas Tow Show coming up, the American Towman Tow Expo here in Texas, the 20th to the 22nd, right?
I don't even know what I'm presenting. You pop quizzing me and I'm not ready.
Well, the important thing is on the 22nd, Saturday morning, Southwest Tow Operators has this legislative conference, this 2024 legislative conference. Anybody out there that's interested in sponsoring, get with us. We'd like to see you all there. Southwest Tow Operators, they are the association for the towing industry there. Towers helping towers, so we'd be glad to see everybody out there. I'm hoping we're going to be able to do Recover Alley live again at the Texas Expo. We're trying to work that out right now. We should know here pretty soon. So let's see, Chris Hart, Towbook. Yep. We had Towbook on the show in Vegas. Great bunch of people. I can't say enough about them. Solid platform, secure. So again, remember everybody, documentation. I want to thank you, Brian, for taking your time. I know you've been working all day long. So I appreciate you taking the time to come out here and educate us a little bit. And for the Texas people, I mean, if you've got some questions, get with us at Southwest Tow Operators. There's a lot of knowledge inside that office with Tommy and Tess. We'll do anything we can to help you. And I believe here in 2 weeks, I think we got Bobby Tuttle, complete incident response training, going to be on the show. Great guy. Y'all probably don't want to miss that one. Guy's been in the industry forever. Want everybody to stay safe out there. And just let's go out there and get it done. And again, Brian, I appreciate you coming on tonight. And We'll see you in a couple of weeks on Recovery Alley.
I appreciate you having me on.
All right, buddy. We'll see you. Everybody have a good evening.